Hello and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, former head of state General Yakubu Gowon kicks against restructuring of Nigeria, advocates strengthening of state's financial capacity to meet developmental challenges. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo calls for a new crop of citizens committed to serving the nation with integrity, blames Nigeria's current challenges on an elite not willing to make sacrifices for the country. The communications giant MTN kicks off its motivational Fire series. Chairman and CEO of Channels Media Group, Mr. John Momo, challenges the company's staff to contribute to Nigeria's development through its many innovations. And Spanish government announces dissolution of Catalan Parliament as the regional lawmakers declare independence for Catalonia. And on business news tonight, Nigeria's central bank injects $285.7 million in the interbank forex market for 4 sectors of the economy.
On sports news, FIFA confirmed that the Super Eagles of Nigeria and 31 other teams featuring at the 2018 World Cup will share $400 million in prize money.
And from Abuja, Governor of Borno State Kashim Shettima says many of the Chibok girls may still be in the Sambisa forest.
We begin with a call for the restructuring of Nigeria, and a former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, is lending his voice to the national debate. He says the current composition of a country will make it difficult for any kind of restructuring to take place. General Gowon is suggesting that the government at all levels should come up with ideas that will make them financially independent, but Nigeria must remain united as a nation.
My prayer is that in Nigeria, for the sake of Nigeria, the Nigeria that I want, Nigeria that is made of over 500 ethnic groups and languages and dialects, and also so many, from various parts of they call them nationalities these days, isn't it? Politicians call them nationalities. And they want restructuring. And practically, if I know this restructuring, everybody is asking for restructuring. So we will have about 500 different ideas of restructuring. And I think the last constitutional conference, I think what was being asked, 54 states, isn't it, to be created. But now there is call for restructuring, to reduce the number of states to only a few, either back to the old regions or to the zones. Now that are some of the ideas, but I do not know whether it will be possible for any states today to wish, to say that they are going to be merged with another state again. I don't know. However, let us see whether our politicians, whether they will seek God's guidance to be able to achieve the result that they want. But I have my problem, my difficulty, but I think things can be done to arrange, to ensure that the states are able to be financially capable, in being able to run their states properly.
Former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon. And tackling Nigeria's current developmental challenges and repositioning the country on a path of true progress requires a new crop of citizens who are committed to serving Nigeria based on integrity and sacrifice. Now that's according to the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who has blamed the nation's current woes on the elite. At a forum in Lagos which discussed ways of creating a better Nigeria, the Vice President also addressed other burning national issues.
To build a new Nigeria, we need a new tribe. A tribe of men and women of all faiths, tribes and ethnicities, hard work, justice and love of country. A tribe of men and women who are prepared to make the sacrifices and self-constraints that are crucial to insist on justice. A tribe consisting of professionals, religious leaders, and all others who believe that this new Nigeria is possible. Is it the board of NMPC or is it the tenders board of the NNPC that approves contracts of a certain level? Is it the board of NNPC or the NNPC's tenders board? Now, that inquiry was made in 2015 by way of a letter, and I'm sure you've seen all of that. The answer that was given by the SGF's office, that's by the Bureau of Public Procurement, is that the board referred to was the tenders board, not the board of the NNPC. As for the SGF and DG-NIA issue, that the president will decide. I'm sure that very, very soon we'll get a response on that.
Participants in a town hall meeting assessing President Muhammadu Buhari's administration in Abuja have been given reasons for what they described as the low performance of the government. The keynote speaker, Professor Nuhu Yakub, asked the president to speed up his appointments and recruitment of policy makers to avoid making a mockery of his anti-corruption fight. Our correspondent Amaka Ukafo reports.
For some reasons.
The Buhari-Mita town hall meeting has been held since the advent of the Buhari-led federal government to x-ray and share opinions about the current government. It is no different at this particular meeting, which centers on the state of the nation. Keynote speaker at the event, Professor Nuhu Yakub, is worried about the lackluster approach of the government to policy making.
There are several boards of parastatals at the moment that have no boards. They have not been constituted. So, chief executives, what we have seen in the last 1 week or 2 weeks ago between Kachiku and Kantibaru probably are just tips of the iceberg. Yes, that's right. There are chief executives at the moment who have no boards in the parastatals, and you can imagine what they can be doing without such boards.
Other speakers share the same sentiments.
It is no longer in the interest of government to start shouting and screaming or looking with magnifying glasses into any dissenting opinion, poll or report. Doing that is actually losing sight of the bigger picture. Rather, now is the time to act and deliver efficient and effectively public goods and services.
Months after the report of the investigation into the allegation of fraud against the former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachir David Lawal, and the then Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, Ayodele Oke, was submitted to the President, nothing has been heard of it. These trends undermine the narrative that government is working hard for Nigerians. It seems to suggest that there are different sets of rules in the country.
The general consensus at this event is that the APC-led government has not been able to put in place a structure to allow it to deliver on its campaign promises. Amaka Ukafo, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the leadership of the Labour Party and the coalition of civil society groups have expressed divergent views on the disengagement of the former pensions boss, Mr. Abdul Rashid Maina, by President Muhammadu Buhari. While the Labour Party described the matter as a setback to the president's anti-corruption crusade, the civil rights groups commend President Buhari for his action. Both groups, however, agree that the issue should be properly handled so that the image of Nigeria will not be damaged before the international community.
Very few stories have dominated the news in the last 4 days, like the reports about the redeployment and subsequent disengagement of Mr. Abdul Rashid Maina, the former chairman of the Presidential Task Team on Pension. From the presidency to lawmakers in the National Assembly, the discussions have been passionately debated upon.
5 years ago, Comrade Okpoku Ogenyi
This is also the central focus of two separate press conferences in Abuja. The leadership of Labour Party and a coalition of civil society organizations. While the Labour Party describes the whole scenario playing out regarding the former chair of the Presidential Task Team on Pension as a national embarrassment, members of the civil society groups think otherwise. They describe the call for his arrest as politically motivated.
Labour Party is calling on the federal government to intensify its efforts on the anti-corruption campaign by making it more transparent and holistic. The recent reinstatement and redeployment of Mr. Abdurrashid Maina is a national disgrace and a ridicule to the anti-corruption campaign of the federal government.
This issue has divided Nigerians among many lines. While some abusively discussing Maina based on his perceived governorship ambition of Borno State in 2019, some treasury looters who were indicted by Maina's-led Committee on Pension Reform Task Force team were busy sponsoring media campaign against his person.
Rather than make Mr. Maina go into perpetual hiding because of the threats of his arrest, the group is asking the federal government to engage him in talks.
This issue of Mainagate and the gang of treasury looters is a focal point of world discussion today. It will make or mar the image of our country if not properly handled. We urge Mr. President to let us make a roundtable as further revelation may lead to more recovery of public stolen funds.
The federal government has declared Maina wanted, even as it considers extending its search across the borders in order to secure his arrest and eventual prosecution.
Suspected kidnap kingpin Chukwudumeme Onwamadike returned to court today, and this time he's seeking to quash the kidnap and murder charges leveled against him. At the resumed hearing in the High Court of Lagos State at Ibushiri, his counsel said the fresh charges amount to repetition because Evans is facing a similar case of kidnapping before Justice Hakeem Oshodi of the Ikeja Division of the High Court. Our correspondent Victoria Ido reports.
A crowd of people, including students from a secondary school in Lagos, waiting to catch a glimpse of the alleged kidnap kingpin, Chukwudumeme Onyamadike, popularly called Evans, as he walks into the court. His case has attracted this audience because of the peculiarity of the matter. His counsel, Olukoya Ogumweje, had filed an application challenging the competence of the two fresh charges and seeking to quash them. These fresh charges are different from the one involving kidnapping, for which Evans and his co-defendant were earlier arraigned on August 30th, 2017, before Justice Hakeem Oshodi of the Ikeja Division of the Court. The fresh charges border on kidnapping, attempted kidnapping, and murder. In his application, Ogumweje described the new charges as an abuse of court processes, contending that some of the counts bordering on kidnapping were merely a duplication of the ones filed before Justice Oshodi of the Ikeja Division of the Court. He also challenged the jurisdiction of the court to entertain the murder and firearms charges filed against his client, saying they were federal offences which a state high court could not entertain without authorization. He adds that he looked through the proof of evidence but could not find any piece of evidence that supported the murder charges. But the Lagos State Director of Public Prosecution, Ms. Titilayo Shitabe, opposed his position. She states that the victim in this case, the place and the time the offence were committed were different from the other case and therefore should be treated differently. After hearing all the parties, Justice Oluwatoyin Taiwo adjourned till November 10th, 2017 for ruling. Victoria Ido, reporting for Channels Television News.